Welcome to Vision Plus, a program featuring a positive outlook, dealing with everyday situations of marriage, children, and business. Believing Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Teacher, author, speaker, delighting audiences from New York to Sacramento with a heart and message for the people today. Bonnie would like to remind you of the 800 number on the screen. Please feel free to call at any time throughout the broadcast and share your concerns. Leave your prayer request and someone will pray with you. And now, teacher, author, and speaker, Bonnie.
People that get a vision to do something with their life that's maybe way out of sync with what they've ever done in their lifetime. And two of those people you're going to meet, two of them are out in another part of where we're taping, and they're having fun there. But who you're meeting is, have you ever thought about doing something that's your legacy, that you're going to leave for your children, grandchildren, and the whole area? These two have done that. I knew them for quite a number of years, Gary Loggins and Suzanne Loggins. Now, Gary used to call on my husband Tony at Swears Industries, and not sure what all they did. I think there was some product he sold them. And Suzanne had her own business here, and you'll be finding out a little bit more about that. But first of all, just think about if you could do something that would leave the world a better place than when we arrived on it, whatever time our birthday was some years ago. And more for me than for these two. Anyway, Gary and Suzanne Loggins. Gary, welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I remember your business. Tell us a little bit about your business, what you did here.
Okay. I had a mobile ultrasound business with a partner, and we went around to different rural hospitals and clinics and provided ultrasound services to these locations, and we really enjoyed it. It was a great experience to have that business.
And now you have the equipment, but you, I don't understand what Gary said about being called to Honduras, so I'll have to hear more about that. Gary, what did you do prior to this venture you're going to take in Honduras?
Ever since I graduated high school, I've been in the bearing and power transmission industry, and I was a salesman selling to, like you said, I was selling to Shorts Industries and selling, I like to explain to people I sold equipment to make anybody who manufactures anything. That's what we sold. I sold product to make those businesses, keep them up and running.
I happen to know something that happened that must have maybe been an impetus for you to encourage your wife to do some of the things you've done. And that is, Tony said one day you were in there and you were almost crying. You had tears in your eyes over, didn't know what your next step was in life. So tell me why you're going to Honduras. You've already been there 3 times, I think.
Wow. Well, it's a long story, but God had a plan for our life for a long time, and me and Sue were trying to, we tell people we're trying to live the American dream, and her businesses were, she had 2 businesses, but the one major one was the ultrasound business, and it just took a lot out of our life, the businesses. We sold the business at one time, and then after that sale of the business, it was kind of like the end run thing. It became, we mostly got money from, it was mostly in stock, and within a year we had to hold on to the stock for a year, and then within about a year we lost all that money because the company had made bad decisions or whatever. And anyway, Sue had to start all over, and by starting all over, she went from working most of the time to all the time trying to gain that back.
That's with 2 children, Mackenzie and Garrett.
Right.
I remember when Garrett was about a year old, and now he's 8 years old.
Yes.
8 years old.
And Mackenzie, I can't believe how beautiful and grown up she is. She's going to be really popular, that blonde hair going over to Honduras. Tell us about, yes, go ahead.
Well, go ahead and tell a part of getting called.
Oh yes, we felt like they needed an ultrasound machine. We heard that they needed an ultrasound machine, and we felt like that our machine might, be something good for them. But then somewhere along the way we heard they got one, and I said, well, maybe they still needed training. So when the opportunity arose, when the doctor came to town to give a presentation on what they were doing, I asked him if he needed ultrasound training.
Came to Huntsville.
And it's through Asbury. I want to make sure
Asbury
we go to
Methodist
Asbury
Church.
Methodist Church in Madison, and Asbury has a
strategic partnership
with the Church of God in Honduras, and that's
They
how
have a lot of strategic partnerships.
Right.
Yes, they do.
With a lot of things. But anyway, you felt
So
that when he was talking, you just got fired up, and
I did. And
Belly.
I knew that it was the right time to be asking this question. So when I did, of course, he wanted to know, where did I hear such things, They didn't have an ultrasound machine, and they needed an ultrasound machine. I said, well, that's great. Then we have one to donate for you. And he said, Sisto, we need you to come to Honduras, so come and help us. God brought me straight to you. Now you must come to me. And so before we knew it, we were like, oh my gosh, we're really being called to Honduras to go and work for this Christian social ministry. So that's how it all began.
Sue's business had come to an end. We were selling our house, literally not
You
knowing.
say, where did you live? It was a very large house.
Right, in
Heritage
Heritage Plantation in Madison.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And we were selling the house, literally did not know where we were going. And but then all this happened. God had all this in plan. And through all this time, when we first went to Asbury, I had put God first in my life. And I don't mean that. I asked for God to be first in my life, and He became first in my life for me. And through all that, I felt like I was going to really go to work for the church at some time. But then that came to an end. But eventually, I'm a salesman, and eventually, God led me. I would tell people before all this happened that I felt like I wanted to be a salesman for God, but never knowing anything about being a missionary. I'm born and raised here in Huntsville, Alabama, so that was not a part of that. But as soon as this happened, it all was like writing on the wall, like the Bible says for us. It was really a confirmation for her, but then it was also a confirmation for me, saying, wow, a salesman for God is a missionary. And the Honduran people, that church had been praying for years for something like this. And this time,
When you say something like this, what do you mean?
An actual ultrasound machine. An actual ultrasound machine, and somebody to come to Honduras and teach them how to use that in their medical missions that they're doing in Honduras.
Now, you had one clinic, the one you shipped it to. That one was somewhat up to date
Correct.
with today's clinics.
Right.
Yes.
But you are also going out into the hinterland to do, or bringing them in, or do you take this mobile clinic to these rural areas?
What we hope is we're going to be able to get additional equipment donated. That's our goal. Gary being a salesman, we know that that's going to be part of his call, is to try to acquire additional diagnostic equipment, not only ultrasound, but x-ray and mammography and maybe even lab equipment, to take to these other rural clinics, outside of the main city of San Pedro Sula.
Describe the clinics you're going to and also the ones in the hinterlands.
The one in the main city, when you walk in, it looks a little bit more about a clinic you see here. However, the equipment and all the instruments and everything they use is still very ancient. I mean, when you see the equipment, you think you've stepped back 50 years, because the equipment, it still works, but it's not, it's not the same kind of equipment we have here. But it's set up the same way. They still see patients just like we do. They'll do X-rays, or they'll do clinical exams on the patients, and they'll do any kind of emergency that comes in, whatever they can do there. They do surgeries, they deliver babies, they do all of the things that you might find at a small hospital here. But the other clinics, of course, they can only provide whatever services that they have. And they have had equipment donated from different places around the United States, but sometimes when they get that equipment, the equipment doesn't work. And of course, they don't have service engineers to fix the pieces of equipment. So, we saw a room with a lot of a piece of equipment in there, but it doesn't work. So
need an engineer.
Need an engineer to come and help work, get it all working.
So, where does that leave you? I love Mike Dutchmandy asked you that. So.
And that's when we first got the call, I felt like that would be a way I could help, maybe, is to get additional equipment, because I knew they just didn't need that one. And sure enough, when we spent 2 months down there at the beginning of this year, I had to ask at that clinic, did they, I'm sure y'all have an avenue to get stuff from the States to, the equipment that they have and all that. And they said, no. They said, we've never received any equipment from the States. Everything that we've got, we've bought here with however they can, I guess they raise enough money through charging the people that come to the clinic to buy extra equipment. But anyway, they asked me if that would be something that I could do. They would very much welcome that, and that's what we're going to try to do, hopefully by talking to people maybe at Huntsville Hospital, Crestwood, any diagnostic center that could. We know the old equipment that's in the States, most people either auction it off or donate it to somebody, so we're going to try to find avenues to.
Because you have a 401c, 501c3, yeah, there you go.
That we're trying
and right now you're going to be going through the
Church of God.
Yeah, in Cleveland, Tennessee.
Right.
And so if anybody would like to have that information, we can get that for you. There's a website that I'll see if we can get the person who put on there. It's Church of God, COG, and
it's
WM, World Missions.
Right. Well, it's cogwm.org.
Okay.
And our project number under there is 102-9047, and you'll be able to go on and 102-9047.
9047. Okay. Now you're taking your children, so you'll be homeschooling, and if all of the things go through that were supposedly with this new health plan, you won't be allowed to homeschool in the United States unless we fight that.
Yes.
We've got 1 million people that we're working
When we
on.
get to Honduras, they're actually going to get to go to a awesome Christian bilingual school. So we're
Really?
excited about that. Yes,
Oh,
we're
yeah,
very
so
excited about
you
that.
now homeschool,
We
but you
homeschool
won't
now.
need to
Mhm.
at that point.
And it's a wonderful, wonderful Christian school down there. Their mission statement is all about the good Lord. It's really so much different. I tell a little story that the last time we were there, one of the kids came and he was really dressed up, and I asked him, I said, well, why are you so dressed up? And he said, we had a preaching contest today, and that was at school. So
That is pretty unbelievable.
That's unbelievable.
We all need to move to Honduras with our children.
That's right.
And go to that school, because that's everything. And it was like that in the Philippines. I couldn't believe how free they were to talk. They're really Catholic, but they talk about the driver on one of our car that they had sent. We had a car that sent us places, and the driver would wait 2 hours for you. But I went back to the car and he was reading a Bible. And I said, oh, you read the Bible? He said, because I knew he was Catholic, and I was kind of surprised that they read the Bible so freely in public and everywhere, and they were Catholic, which years ago they didn't read the Bible that much. They just listened to what the Father and the priest, and Mike Ditchman, he can correct me on that one, but because he seems to know more about the Bible than many of us do, and he raised Catholic too. But so you're going to be going as soon as you've raised enough money, which is, now tell us about that process.
We are going to actually be going to Colorado for culture training, which is where we'll learn something about the cultures down there and what we need to do when we get there and how we're supposed to integrate into the culture. And then we go there for 6 weeks, then we come back.
And all four of you
all four of us will go to this. And then after we come back, we'll be here about a month to get our final details finished, and then we hope the first part of April we'll be going to Honduras, provided the money's raised.
Of 2010. And that will be, how much money will you need? You said they can live on $1 a day. I want to send my children and grandchildren. They can live on $1 a day.
When you say, that's when I say $1 a day, that's very, very poor. We were talking to a brother that was here. He's from Honduras. He's been here for 6 years, and I asked him, how his family was raised and all that, and he said his family, they have 12 people in their family, and he said we lived on, my dad worked and my mom took care of the family, and they lived on 300 lempiras a month, which is $15 a month. And I have no idea how that works, but he said they, you know, like their diet was they drink coffee for breakfast, and they have beans and corn tortillas for the rest of the time. So no, for us to live down there, believe it or not, in San Pedro Sula, they are becoming Americanized, and believe it or not, like the restaurants and the cars, the gas, the insurance, it's even higher than here. Gas is higher. Insurance is, for us, is going to be outrageous.
Because we're Americans.
Because we're Americans and all that kind of stuff. So
And why
really,
is it more for Americans?
We'll have to get the insurance from here
from here
to be
yeah.
international kind of insurance.
They don't really, they're not, you know, they first got their civilian government, civil government in 1982. So it's really it's a third world country. It's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere as of now, and I don't know if y'all kept up with Honduras at all lately, but they're going through a lot of turmoil now down there with the government.
What are your feelings about your son and daughter, 8-year-old son and 13-year-old daughter,
it's
going on 20?
Just like you said, being blue-eyed and blonde hair is a, you know, we've been down there enough, all they want to do is touch our kids, touch their head. And we went up to the mountains one time in Honduras. How do you remember?
So you like they kind of worship you, or they
will.
really think you're like movie stars.
Yeah.
Madonna, he mentioned.
Well, they never, and just the story when we went way out in the bush, kind of, and went to a location, there was a lady that came and touched Garrett's hair and was really playing with it, is what I was thinking, and all the Hondurans were laughing because what she was talking about. And she actually was trying to get the dust out of his hair, because they had never seen a blonde-haired child. So it's really it's a totally different world in Honduras.
No, you wear ties and shirts like that in your work?
When you go to church,
Yes.
there's ties and all
Tony
that.
wears a bow tie every once in a while.
Yes.
How about you? Will you wear, this is pretty smashing, glitzy.
Yeah, no, I probably wouldn't wear something like this, but still wear skirts.
Church.
Skirts and things like that to church, yeah. And still dressed up when you go to church. And what's neat about it was the Church of God just got air conditioning this year in their church.
In Honduras.
In Honduras.
San Pedro Sula, yeah.
And they had an open church for a long, long time. And the preacher was saying he was a little bit disappointed that they got air conditioning, because now when they come all dressed up, they expect to stay nice and dressed up before they leave, so they don't worship like they used to. He said they used to worship really hard and not worry about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a neat thing. But we were laughing. We said, well, I guess they got the air conditioning just for us. Just time for us to get there.
So you have these incredible brochures, very beautiful, and you have a place where people can send funds. The Diagnostic Medicine in Christ in Madison, Alabama. That's where you want that.
That's the nonprofit organization that we developed, and that's where we hope we'll be able to get the equipment donated through.
Post Office Box 2100.
Yes, ma'am.
So people who donate this equipment, I'm thinking of one of the guys that was a friend of Deanna's that sells the equipment, and I'm going to call him and ask him if you remember his name, Tony. Anyway, I'll think of it in a few minutes. It always comes back to me about midnight.
Yes.
And
I'll call him and see if where he sold something. Maybe they could donate their equipment, but yet it still works.
Yes.
And it's all in exactly what we're doing here. It's all in who you know, the contacts that we can have. That's our goal, is to try to open up those avenues to be able to do that. And what we'd like to do is have some equipment when we first moved down to Honduras, that first trip, when we shipped the first crate down there, we're hoping to have the medical equipment in there.
Yeah.
When you ship the crates down there, are you trying to have enough clothes for a year, or what about groceries and those kinds of?
Well, when we first go down, we're hoping to be able to take our housing, our furniture, and clothes and things that we need down there with us. We've kind of gone back and forth as to whether or not to take furniture, but we think we're going to try to do that. We've heard about the last shipping. We think we can do that. So, and in that same shipment, we hope to be able to take equipment or whatever else with us, maybe even a car. If we can get a car to take down, we hope to do that too. And then, but we buy groceries and things. We'll probably buy some things here, you know, a few things that we really like that we want to take down, but most of the groceries and stuff we'll buy down there.
Just in the last 3 years, they've came a long, long way. Just in 3 years,
Well,
it's
so
amazing.
how was it before and how is it now?
Well, in San Pedro Sula, imagine like 80% of Honduras is very poor. But there's two cities, Tegucigalpa, which is the capital city, and San Pedro Sula. Both of them have 1 million people in those towns.
Whoa.
And but they're becoming Americanized. They have Kentucky Fried Chicken, Pizza Hut, and McDonald's and all this. The only difference is they have armed guards at every place that you go to.
That's the way it was in the Philippines.
Yeah, that's the way it is down there.
In Butuan City.
So, like the first time I went, they had a really nice grocery store. That's what's different about Honduras. I try to explain it to people, but some guy flying back one time had a really good analogy of Honduras. They have pick and pay shoes down there, and in the store, Pick and Pay.
Yeah.
Isn't that a name of a shoe store? They have it down there. But you'll see it, and all out in front of Pick and Pay shoes is a bunch of kids playing with no shoes. And that's a really good sign of Honduras, because it's just most people have nothing. But the people who do have, evidently have a lot.
That's
So
the way it was where we were in the Philippines. It's
Right.
either very wealthy or dirty poor.
Like the first time we went, I went into a grocery store, which is very much like a Walmart or Kroger or anything else. But the first time I went, the meat section was just like ours, but I looked, and the whole meat section, there was nothing but one little thing of hamburger meat this big. And there was an American there, and he asked me, he said, I'm sure you're wondering how that can be. I said, yeah, how can you? And he said, there's just not any meat to be had. But now we go, and it's just like America.
Yeah. Last time
In that same grocery store. It has all the meats just like America has. So they've came a long way, but I'm sure that the economy is really putting a hurt
So
on
what do they do?
Honduras.
What do they raise products? And
They have,
what do they do to earn that $1 a day?
Yeah.
and that's the hard part to figure out. But they do have Dole. Dole is down there. Haynes.
Pineapple.
the-
Dole
right.
pineapple.
And
And Hanes clothing.
And what's the
Men's
other one?
clothing.
And Chiquita is down there. The Fruit of the Loom.
Fruit of the Loom is down there. So all these places, they give these people a place to work. I still don't know how much they pay them. I'm sure it's very little compared to what it is here.
Yeah. It's very similar.
What they mostly have the bicycles and
In San Pedro Sula, there's a lot of cars, but most people do not have cars. Most people have.
what kind of petrol or
It's
cost is it for a gallon of
Well,
petrol?
it was when we were down there. It was $3 a gallon, $3.50 a gallon.
Yeah, it was 50 cents to $1 more a gallon here.
Than here.
That's not as bad
Right,
as some
right.
parts of
Right.
the world.
Right.
I'm sure places that Mindy's been.
Right,
I could
right.
tell you some things about that. But so, how much money is it going to take for you to live month to month to month? Do you know yet?
Well, through all the training, we went through the Mission Society and the taking advice from the Church of God, and pretty much they've told us to, no matter where you go, you need to plan on $75,000 a year for us because of
75,000.
right.
That sounds like a lot of money.
Right.
Most people here at an average job don't make that kind of money.
Right, and see, it's just the insurance that we have to pay in case something. I mean, I guess
What you run into is the cost of the health insurance and the auto insurance is going to be about $25,000 alone. And then the other money is really just for the living expenses and whatever mission funds we can help with supplies and things down there at the clinic.
Right.
So what kind of places will you be living in?
That's another decision we have to make. They have places that's very similar to here, and the cost is very expensive, but there's a lot of
What is very
security.
expensive to you?
It's cost $1,000 to
$1,200.
$1,200 a month to rent. something like
But
that.
those are gated communities where they had guards at the front, and they were.
Would that be 3 bedrooms, so your daughter could have her own?
Yes.
Twice 3 bedroom.
Yeah.
Be a smaller house, and the way we have to think in Honduras, and what we've come to realize, is there's a lot of petty theft, a lot of because of the people in Honduras. If you have, then the people that don't have, they try to, they have to support their family just like everybody else, and it's not an option down there. There's not really the jobs that are out there, I'm sure, are it's who you know or whatever, because we've ran into it. When we stayed for 2 months down in Honduras, we stayed with a family that the wife had lost her job, and she's been almost a year without finding another job. And to live the lifestyle that's anywhere close to the American way of life, it has to have 2 incomes.
What had she been doing before?
What was she doing before?
She worked at a bank.
She was a bank, yeah, that's right.
And what does the husband do?
He works
He
for
worked for
Pepsi.
Pepsi.
And how did you happen to find these people? And
They
stuff?
went to the Church of God.
They're part of the church down there that we're going to be.
Yeah.
And they gave us a place to live while we were down there for 2 months.
For the 4 of you.
For the 4 of us,
Uh-huh.
right.
So you're going to be going there, the same place, or where are you going the very first time when you get there? Where are you going to live?
Yes.
The very first, when we plan on going in April, we're going to go to the Copan area to live with a family to learn Spanish for 5 or 6 months. We're going to live with a family that's going to, and go to school for 5 or 6 months just to try to learn the Spanish language. And then we're going to come back to San Pedro Sula, find a place to live. And we're really going to let the Church of God lead us on where we need to live. And it's just different. If we pick to live kind of the way of the American life, you're more of a target. You see what I'm saying?
For the petty theft.
Right.
Uh-huh.
For the petty theft.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't get by with the red hair. Or
Right.
in the Philippines, I'd have a bodyguard every second.
Did you?
No, I didn't.
See, and that's
Because Tony said he wouldn't pay the $10,000 ransom. Well, he
And
did.
that's
He said, well,
And that's what we were-
yeah.
that's what we were told. With
He
the,
said, if I leave you there, they'll pay me $10,000 to get you out of there.
and that's what it is in Honduras
right.
with the 2 blonde-headed kids. It's not that they will. Hopefully, it's not. We truly. Our hope and our belief is that God will take care of us. If
Yeah.
He's called us down there, He'll take care of us. But they do kidnap kids down there for ransom.
And
So-
for sex, for the
Right.
sex slave,
Right.
too.
And it's the drug cartel is really bad in Honduras.
So you got to protect your children.
We have to protect our family and our children.
For just, she won't be walking around at night
No,
by herself.
we won't be going out at night at all, because even the people in Honduras, they're saying if you're out at night, then you're just asking for trouble.
Well, if you want to help this couple, the 4 of them, to go down there and teach the Word of God, to help in the medical field, then you can get in touch with. If you can't remember all these websites or whatever, you can call our toll-free number, 877-823-6886. I think that's on the screen now, 877-823-6886. You can call that from anywhere. And also, it'll be on the internet. I call it, it's archived actually, but it's like streaming, video streaming. And you can get in touch with Suzanne and Gary Loggins, and even get a picture of Garrett and Mackenzie. And let's repeat it one more time. Tony's giving us the wrap-up sound, but it's COGWM, the Church of God, WM.org. That's www.cogwm.org. And if you look that one up, is there any other specific place, or is that as good as any?
That you could, to get in touch with me, if you need to get in touch with me, my email address is Gary Loggins, GaryLoggins, at AOL.com. That's what we
And
need to get in touch with.
we thank you for being here, and thank you, Tony, and thank you very much, Mike Dutchman, for coming down here.
Thank you.
And, okay, God bless you. Talk to you later.